This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
Hi, this is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Thanks.
Hey, folks. Welcome to this week's edition of One Nation Radio. I'm James Boyd, and here with me I have Rich Latta. Per usual. Normal weekend, right? We may or may not talk about it. We're still debating on whether or not we're going to talk about it. If you don't know what it is, then good. You might hear about it or you might not hear about it, but something happened over the weekend that we're referring to as it for now, and we may get into it, but maybe not. But there are some things we want to talk about. Obviously, Dynamite from the past weekend, setting up some matches for the big title matches for All In in August in Wembley. And Dynamite in general, which I thought was a pretty solid show. And but first, I want to talk to Rich about College Football 25 that came out on yesterday. Rich got the game. I think, did you pre-order it, Rich?
I did.
Rich pre-ordered it. I have not played it. I've only seen people play it. But I want you to tell me, what's your thoughts on the game initially in your first, 48 hours or 24 hours with it. As far as what you like, what you dislike, what you weren't, anything that you weren't expecting, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I guess first question, do you feel like it's lived up to the anticipation, the expectations of, this game was a big sports game for a long time and then it was gone for a decade?
Yeah, it definitely lived up to the hype amongst the people that play this game regularly and kept NCAA 14 alive for a decade, through mods and stuff like that. And it just feels like a very evolved version of that. And I've been playing it endlessly since yesterday afternoon. I'm already in my second season on my dynasty or whatever. I took over UMass, and we went 11-1 the first year, and we're 3-1 in the second year. But and I moved them to Conference USA. Okay. After that, so gonna build it up and all that, and I think the only part is it seems like it's a little bit limited right now because there's kind of a lack of creation kind of suite in it. You can't create players in it. You cannot modify the jersey numbers on any person. But the actual game itself and playing the football, it's so fun to run offense. It's so fun to run the ball. It's so fun to do the RPO stuff, your run pass option stuff. If you have a mobile quarterback, you're gonna kill in this game. I think, as far as what people expected, a lot of people, you were oh, it's just a Madden reskin. But for me, I don't have those same concerns. I haven't been playing Madden. So,
and also Madden and NCAA, back in the day, they were completely different games.
Yeah, it was always there was it's hard to explain the difference, and it's just how my brain and my hands kind of relate to whatever the physicality feels like on the game. It always felt like Madden was a lot softer or whatever than the NCAA game for me. In this case, it was only 27 gigs, which is unheard of for a game in this era. A lot of these games for like PS5 now are like 60 gigs, NBA Live 140 gigs, shit like that. Like Mortal Kombat, I think was like 80 gigs, and I'm like, I saw that 27. I was like, oh, so like it's not like a loaded game with like tons of modes. They do have all the mini games though, and they have like upgraded ones too, that are pretty dope. I've been loving it, and I haven't like played with all like the top tier teams. I did play with Texas. I played with Florida State. I played with I don't know who else.
You didn't pull out Georgia or Ohio State just to see?
No, I have not. I played against Georgia though, and I lost 38-28 with UMass, and I had a shot to win at the end. So I almost stole it in Athens, so it was a lot. But
so you playing that Czech game?
Oh, I was the Czech,
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
But no, I just played UMass's regular schedule. They actually played them this year.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever. So I played their regular schedule or whatever, and they have the deal where you can where there's a new thing on like a lot of football games now. You can just play offense or whatever, and then
sim defense.
Yes,
that's
bro.
Gross.
I blazed through the season so fast. Like sometimes, like I'll play the defense, but like I'm trying to get this shit going. So we already the recruits are coming in. It's looking lovely. So yeah, buzzing straight through it. High powered offense. Let's go.
This man said, "I don't want to play defense." Wow. What? Don't they have 7-on-7 in the thing?
They have like the mini game, like
but do they have like a 7-on-7 mini game though?
No, just a mini game. Like as far as like you can just throw it and try to score.
They slander you in the comments for that, Rich.
Rich Doncic, yeah.
So, I mean, the game. I saw some people that were involved in some of the stuff as far as like the details of like what is a true fit for what the current college football landscape is like, as far as like the recruiting. Like they talk about like the pipeline where like you get like the talented players at certain positions where they kind of come from just over time of like the last 20 years of national recruiting and regional recruiting. And like I thought that was super interesting. And then like I was like, that's really cool. Like I love that they're not just gonna say like you can get some fucking you can get like 4 or 5-star wide receivers out the state of Wyoming. Like that's not, or athletes out the state of Wyoming. That's fucking unrealistic. Like I like that is like close to the population centers that actually produce the football players, like the South Floridas, the Metro Atlantas, the New Orleans area. Right, like I really, Southern California. I thought it was really cool how they, have that figured out. So
yeah.
And then you come to find out like the people that, they got info from are people that like actually are people that are reporting on national, college from the former SB Nation crew. Like, so I thought it was really cool. So
they got Bud Elliott's blue chip percentage on your team,
the blue chip ratio deal.
Yeah.
I like that. Because it's realistic. I know a lot of people ain't gonna like it, but it's like, look, man, there are only like 8 teams, or 18 schools in the country that actually have like the resources, the tradition, and the proximity to recruiting pools to actually bring in enough high-level athletes to actually win a national championship. There's only 18 of them, 19. That's it. Sorry.
And it's really cool because you can basically like, you can do your coach how you want to and eventually ascend to like the CEO, program builder like thing. And then what you do is, you run your pipelines through your assistant coaches, like how I got it set up now. I'm in UMass. So like, where am I getting talent from? Right. So I'm the
closest would be like Jersey.
Right. So like, it's like the New York, New Jersey thing. There's some stuff in Massachusetts or whatever, but it's like 3-star guys that are potential, like, hey, there's a gem here. Maybe they'll actually perform like a 4-star. Yeah. But my assistant coaches, I got my offensive coordinator is from East Texas or whatever. Like his pipeline is East Texas. My pipeline myself is South Florida or whatever. And then my defensive coordinator is Metro Atlanta. So
I'm dipping into 3 biggest pots I can.
Hey, y'all coming up to Amherst, Massachusetts. Let's go.
You're not trying to find like some type of linebacker coach that is from South California. You ain't thought about that one yet? Nah. You good enough? Okay.
Like
maybe find a quarterback's coach from California, right?
Maybe when I like get a new job or something like that. But after my first season, Florida, the Gators had me on the head coaching list or whatever that they wanted. I was like, nope, I'm staying right where I'm at. Absolutely the fuck not. Illinois and Wisconsin wanted me to be the OC.
Schedule looks like now. I'm not facing them. I'm not playing for them. They got to play Texas and Oklahoma and Georgia and Florida State every year. Hell no, I'm good.
Fuck that,
bro. I don't know if you saw this about Florida. Everyone's been talking about it for a full year. Like, bro, they have the hardest schedule in the country, and like, it ain't no exaggeration. Like, they have the hardest schedule in the country. Like, not only is it the hardest schedule in the country, Vegas has 6 of their opponents, like, with an over-under of 9 or more wins. 6 of them.
That's
like,
crazy.
It's tough. It's going to be real tough sledding. Real tough sledding from all year. Napier getting fired. Like, I just want to say that, just be like, Napier getting fired. Like, bro, he needs 7-5 to have a chance of saving his job. And in like, it's got to be the right 7.
Yeah, because what if they just get mad you don't beat like Florida State or some shit? Right. Or
what if them 5 is like, oh yeah, you got eviscerated. Like Georgia beat you by 21, Florida State beat you by 10, Miami beat you by 10, Texas beat you by 30. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be the right 5 you lose if you gonna go 7-5 and keep your job there. It's crazy.
Yeah, but love the game, love the atmosphere, the feel of it. Like, it actually feels like kind of like how when you watch a game, it's not just like perfect or whatever. Like how like a lot of older football games were like, oh yeah, everything's just perfect or whatever. Like when you're running the ball, like you can feel the. I'm not even gonna say that because I'm not getting clipped.
Say something crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
You can feel the line moving around. I'm not gonna say whatever is opening up. No. Absolutely not.
So I actually heard that like the commentary teams, like basically like if you are playing like the national game, if you're playing Oregon versus Ohio State, which is actually a game this year because they're in the same conference, like you will get Herb Street and Fowler, the A team, right? But like the other team, you'll get like what was essentially is like ABC/ESPN's B team. So it's like Jesse Palmer and David Pollack and I forgot who the play-by-play person is. And I was like, that's interesting. And then they mentioned like if it's a big play being made at like a turnover, let's say it's an interception and it's a close game or whatever else, like the commentary actually responds because like it's a close game, a high leverage play just happened, this can flip the game, like the crowd they're super excited. If Georgia's up on Missouri, 21 points, and it's still the first half, and Georgia gets an interception. They just read like, oh, interception. Like they treat it like it's a real game. Like like how back in the day you get the Mike Breen and Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson just to close out a fourth quarter as a blowout. They'll just start talking about any old damn thing. Like it's kind of that kind of realism, and I was like, that's really cool. They really thought about this to that level. Like they've had a decade, and a lot of these video games.
They brought in a lot of people that were working on the revamp team too. So like this thing is like, it's like they have gotten the most direct feedback from any community of gaming almost ever. Like I you get 10 years to make a game.
I imagine, especially for like a sports game.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool, the stuff I've seen. Like the only person I've heard not like it is Lindell White. And then I thought to myself, why do I follow Lindell White on Twitter still? And bro, his replies are like, oh, you must be trash. All his replies are like, oh, you must be trash at this game.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Like, bro, I feel like I'm so much better at this game than I was at 14. Like already. Like just I don't like really like want to play like play competitively or anything. I don't even know about necessarily playing online like that because that's a whole nother animal. And it's like, nah, y'all ain't about to be be killing me. But I bust open the Ultimate Team just to get the mode started. I haven't really played it yet or anything, but I've got a couple. I got Joe Burrow on there. I'm like, yeah, let me get 2019 Joe Burrow, please.
Okay, is Cam on there?
I'm sure he will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't discovered him yet, but I'm looking forward to getting through more of it. But I'm gonna sit with UMass for a little bit and see if I can build this thing up and win a natty out there. So
UMass.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how long they'll in like this sim, how long it'll take you to actually be able to do that. How long they'll be like, nah, we don't care if you're undefeated. Like we not gonna even put you in.
That's what happened last year.
You gotta you stupid. You gotta go. Oh, you talking about Florida State? You talking about UMass?
In both shit.
Shit.
So I was independent, right?
Okay.
And there's 3 teams in it. It's UConn, Notre Dame, and UMass, right? So I beat UConn or whatever at the end. So I obviously quote unquote won the conference, but they gave Notre Dame the playoff berth or whatever. We had the same record. Only person I lost to was Georgia or whatever. We lost by 10. Whooped the rest of the schedule or whatever, including Missouri. I think Missouri and Georgia were the only, and Liberty were like the toughest games, and then UConn. But I was number 19 at the end of the year. And then I won my bowl game against Fresno State, and I finished number 6 in the country with UMass or whatever. And I came into the next season 22. I lost my second game, and then I'm 3-1 right now, and I'm number 25 now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, well, we'll keep some tabs on this, see how it goes. I want to see how long. I want to see how long it takes you to for them to actually put you in. Like they ain't gonna treat you like how they used to hold Boise State back in the day. Like Boise State would have gotten into the playoff, back in the day because there would have been 12 spots. But UMass, that's.
So I was like, all right, I gotta
hill to climb.
I was like, I gotta get more. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna put them in Conference USA or whatever because I feel like that's like I looked at all the overalls. I'm like, all right, this is kind of makes the most sense rather than just getting drugged in the SEC or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Speaking of the SEC, today they said, or they leaked out to Britt McMurphy that they said they're not interested in Florida State right now if they were to become available because and I was like. Yeah, you said the Big Ten also said the same thing. I was like, yeah, the Big Ten also said about a year ago before Oregon and Washington came available, they didn't want them, and it's in writing. So it's like, what we don't. It's like, yeah, please don't sue us for tampering. That's all that shit is. That shit is so funny. It's like all these conferences in their send out the reporters and be like, yeah, we don't want them, and then sure enough. A year, 2 years go by, and then magically they just want them. It's crazy how that happens. It's crazy. So, yeah, man. But good shit. So, where do you want to start now? Now that we're past the college football.
So something I didn't write down, kind of tangentially related to what we're going to get into in a minute, but 2025, there was a report that AEW is going to be running a show. Possibly in Dallas, Texas, or wherever the fuck Arlington is, where at Jerry World. And
it's in Arlington, but it's Metro Dallas. It counts as Metro Dallas. Like it's I think Metro area for Dallas is called Dallas Fort Worth.
Yeah, so through the grapevine, I've heard that it's going to be All In. So All In coming to America. I don't know if y'all want to. Don't aggregate this. I was talking with a friend, and not a friend that you don't source guess on this. So. I think with that's obviously one of the hottest crowds that AEW has is historically in Texas.
Yep. Absolutely.
And they
should have long had a pay-per-view.
They have deserved a pay-per-view for a long time. If it is true and it is All In next year, I'll be there for sure. Like I will fly in for that. Absolutely. And that'll be fun. I think we're gonna see, a lot of the, they didn't sell 100,000 tickets. This is a failure. But I think you bring All In here, bring it to Dallas. The history of this promotion kind of says run shows that people don't think you can, and then sell your tickets and then get it popping. So with that, what do you make of like All In potentially coming to America?
I think that it is long overdue. I've said they should have ran the stadium, pretty much since 2000, since before the pandemic. Like, it seemed like that's where they were headed. That they've had the interest to run shows like I think it was it Revolution 2020 when they had that huge. No, I'm sorry. It was what year was it when they had like the waiting list was so long and ridiculous that like they could have ran Soldier Field.
That was All Out 2020.
Yeah. So
or excuse me, All Out 2019. Sorry.
Okay, so there you go. They could have did then. They've held off on it. That's probably for the best. Now that they have Wembley. They did that. They have another Wembley show. Now it's time to bring it to, your domestic audience to where they don't have to get on and spend, $1,500, $2,000 for a flight to go. They can just take their ass to Texas. Now they be careful with their suitcases, but more specifically to Dallas. If it is in fact Jerry World, I know a few people are going to start asking the question: wouldn't WWE try to block that, seeing that they've had 2 WrestleManias there before and that sort of thing? And my response to you is, y'all don't understand, and this is one of my favorite things that I like to talk about when it comes to the new Cowboy Stadium ever since it was made with Jerry Jones.
Explain why it's called Jerry World, too.
It's called Jerry World because it's one of the few NFL stadiums that have been made in the last 20 years that actually has like a lot of there's a lot of private money. The owner actually put up a lot of their own bread for the percentage or for the lion's share of, or not a lion's share, but like a significant percentage of the stadium. So the joke was always like, you would see the Pacquiao fights were there for a while, and then you would see like the high school state games were there. And then, like, the rodeo would go there. He'd be like, man, Jerry's put so much money in this damn thing. I always made the joke, like, man, Jerry will put someone's kinks in that damn thing if it came down to it. He will throw birthday parties in it, too. He put money in there. He need to recoup. He is still in that situation. I don't give a damn how much money he's made as an NFL owner, owning the most lucrative franchise in North American pro sports. He's still trying to get back the money he's put into that damn thing. So that whole, will block you or whatever else, Jerry don't give a good goddamn.
Also, Jerry has a relationship with the Khan family, I'd imagine, through the NFL. Look, remember, what was it, 2010 NBA All-Star Game was there? Or the 11 All-Star Game? 2010.
Yeah. They will put any damn thing in there. Have they had a Final Four there before?
I'm pretty sure they have. I know they played big college games there.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure.
Have. So yeah, like, they put anything in there. So yeah, so that whole idea that like this ain't like MSG. They are not that kind of beholden to WWE in that way.
Yeah.
And if WWE wants to run in Texas again, I guess they'll have to take it to NRG. I think it's called NRG in Houston then, if they want to play that kind of game. But I doubt they will, because with the 2 times they've gone there, people have really enjoyed that area being host of WrestleMania. So we'll see.
A lot of people calling it Y'all In. Which is pretty funny. I might have to show up with a cowboy hat on to the event. If I go there.
You best believe. What they call them, host Stetsons? Or is that a color? Or is that a type? Look,
I got a hat in there. Yeah, y'all know I got a hat.
I ain't got a hat. All I know is I might have to hit you up to hit up your own air parody of Keith David. Brian David, Keith Brian and Keith. Say, hey, Brian Keith, I'm fucking it all up, and say, hey, your joint, I need one of them. If I can't find the black, basically like the Jim Ross joint, the black joint like that, then I want that one. It's one of the two.
I definitely want one of them white joints or whatever. I think what's his name? Brad Paisley, I think. Nigga comes out there, it's like his signature look. Nigga wears a white cowboy hat.
Yeah.
If I might have a name wrong, but if I do, y'all know I'm showing up in a cowboy hat to All In.
Yeah. Get off the. Absolutely. You already know.
Absolutely. Look, I'm getting some Wrangler jeans. I might get some boots.
Yes. Black boots, tucking them inside of the jeans.
Look, and I'm showing up with a poncho as well. So
I will stop short of the poncho, but like I will get the Wranglers. Those you can go to Walmart to get them hoes.
Yeah,
I will get the Wranglers.
I'll get a big ass belt buckle. I'll look like I'm wearing the championship my goddamn self.
No, better yet, if AEW goes all in, they should sell All In or AEW belt buckles. Them shows as souvenirs. Them hoes will sell. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Make them hold light up too. Like,
all right, you took it one step too far. One step too far.
Yes, silk ponchos. Yes. Yeah, I'm showing up like a goddamn fool to that show. So, yeah. Now, I think as far as like where that comes into play, like I don't know, we fantasy book this. If it is our responsibility, like Will Ospreay not winning that bitch in Wembley next year, then that's the case. Look, sorry, brother, those be the breaks. Like,
hey, we thought that still sits on top. Either way, it will still be at most likely the biggest show of the year AEW puts on next year.
Right.
Now, obviously, I think it would have been a bigger deal had it been there, but I guess that wasn't the plan. But he's still set to get his title win next year, and it's going to be one of the best things of the year in wrestling next year. So it takes it a notch down for it not being in England, but it'll still be great nonetheless.
Yeah.
And also, circumstance. A third time, obviously the crowd's not going to travel nearly as much as our first domestic big show. So you can look when we talk about, for example,
they might have a chance to outdo it.
You talked about, that's what I'm saying. Like, we talked about the Swerve pay-per-view against pay-per-view main event against Ospreay, and say like that gets to go into his career, main event status, that he sold this many tickets to this building, main eventing, whatever else. Same for Ospreay. Like, I understand he'd probably rather have it in his hometown, but if they sell 10,000 more tickets, 15,000 more tickets, I think he'd be okay with that being in his all-time career record history books. And like, he main evented the biggest drawing show in AEW history, potentially. So silver linings.
Yeah. So let's get into we got Swerve versus Danielson. So last week we had a pretty in-depth conversation about who should win. It ended up being Danielson. This came as a result of an awesome match with him and Hangman Page. Another one. And and I talked to some people that were kind of upset about it, and I've heard I think people are like being a tad irrational about it, because it's like, all right, like, I don't think all situations necessarily reflect the others. Now, when I say that, it's like, all right, could this be like Double or Nothing 2022? No, I don't think this is that. Like, and I understand wanting to see Swerve and Hangman settle it. I get it. I'm someone that wanted to see that. I thought about it more in the past week, and just knowing what wrestling shows traditionally like to put in big stadiums, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like a death match or whatever to like main event, like whatever. Like, usually it's like a lot cleaner match. When you're looking at something that's going to headline. As far as like when I say cleaner, it's like traditional wrestling match. And so Swerve and Danielson, I'm just going to have to trust them, being pro wrestling geniuses they are, to come up with something that will make people feel like this is like what they wanted. Because like, I think it's even bleeding into Blood and Guts now, where it's like, oh, this Blood and Guts is a consolation kind of for the Swerve and Hangman thing. And we got a question about Blood and Guts that I'm gonna put my thoughts on when we get to it. Okay. But what did you make of the Swerve or Danielson and Hangman match, the Jeff Jarrett insertion, and then ultimately Swerve and Danielson?
Oh, you want my thoughts? All right, hold on. Yeah, so my thoughts was, like, y'all,
nigga done disrobe.
You were the most reasonable voice I heard on this network that said, hey man, being alarmist for like, hey, this could be like a bad play for AEW as far as doing it. And then like, I'm watching this match, and throughout the match, they didn't have to do really much of anything to get the crowd to cheer for the babyface Bryan, who's working injured. And this was much like I thought, like, they're buying into the character that Hangman is a bad guy and he's doing evil things. And Bryan Danielson is one of the greatest babyfaces of all time, which he's been since we always know. And they played into it, and then at the end, Danielson won, and then the crowd popped, and then they got a crowd shot, the whole crowd doing the yes chant, unsolicited. And I was like, so what was all this stuff I was hearing on the on the network? What is this? So like, I understand, and Tunnel Talk. Keep
in mind that is Canada, though. Like we got to take it on the road. So like,
sure. I will say that like that Canadian crowd was pretty damn for everything except for like the beginning of the show and the end of the show. Right? So, don't get me wrong. Then it was a great match. It adds to the catalog of Danielson and Hangman. And the thing for me was just like watching the match and then seeing the crowd react that way, and then listening to some of the week worth of stuff. I was just like, look, man, I get it. And especially with Tony Talk is like, they came up in with this, the special guy coins the term special guy for like, when you believe in somebody and you are basically standing for somebody and championing a wrestler as your character, your favorite character, to achieve more than what they've been given. And like, we have now someone on this other thing now. And like, it's amongst our most passionate AEW fans, and I love them. And they're mostly well reasoned. But when you tell me that like this crowd is going to treat 2024 Bryan Danielson like 2015 Roman Reigns, or there's any potential of that happening, I'm sorry, I gotta say it. Hangman and Swerve is y'all special feud, your special rivalry. It is. And look, I want them to have their feud play out. But like I said last week, burning through 4 high-level singles matches for them in the span of 10 months is a lot by AEW standards. Now, if this was a different promotion, if this was the other major AmRest promotion, that's a drop in the bucket. AEW doesn't do it like that. Now, you might say, well, it's 4, it's not a big deal, but like, it's 4, but it's also, they had another damn match in the 3-way for the title at the beginning of the year. Like, these guys, given their age, given where they are in the promotion, given the people that are their contemporaries in the promotion that we think are around, these people are going to have to wrestle each other another half decade, we think, unless one of them wants to retire, gets injured, or wants to go to the E, right? You don't want to burn through that many fucking matches between a rivalry that's that special. Like, and aside from really like Young Bucks and Lucha Bros, there's really no other program in AEW history that has that amount of tread on the tire in such a short amount of time. And a lot of the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks stuff is because of the because of the 7-game series ladder match stuff, with the trio stuff. So I was just like, hey, I want to see that match too, but I don't think it makes much sense for it to happen right now when Hangman has just came back. He's in this character. I want to personally see more of the stuff out of this character, to see him driven on his path to finally get back to Swerve. I understand he's a heel, and that's kind of weird to see a heel's drive to it, but like, there's been plenty of movies where there's been anti-hero type of protagonists that go through on a vengeance tour. And I want to see that out of Hangman.
Here was the tip-off, too. Look, if it was me, I wouldn't have brought him back just to beat him like that, because that is like kind of a pill you're asking them to swallow.
I will say this: they did protect him in that he got caught in a roll, or he got caught in a quick flash pin, as opposed to he got hit with the bicycle knee and then finished with it for 3.
So, like, when they had MJF return on the same night as him and then gave him the show closing angle, and then when they had MJF followed up with a promo on TV on Collision, and then they let MJF open the next show, and then they didn't play the phenomenal Hangman promo on TV.
They played clips of it.
They played when that shit that shit emerges like Monday afternoon on Twitter and like burns everything up. Like, the company themselves didn't promote it like that. So like, whether they made it, that whether you like the choice they made on that or not, these are the tells like of the way they were going with this.
There's that, and also there was some F-bombs in that, so I don't think they wanted to promote that heavily. Mm-hmm. Obviously they could have played more of it and kept out the couple F-bombs he dropped or bleeped it out, but there's definitely something to that. And just for me, it's just like, we're going to get another one of those matches, but to hold you over the consolation prize, I guess, and people just, can't stand it. Is like, I guess we have to put Swerve and Hangman in the confines of a cage where they're going to bleed out together. Oh no. How poor, how awful. So that's why I was just like, I don't see what y'all see here. And it's like, honestly, Hangman and Swerve, it might be my favorite AEW feud. I mean, it would have been, Moxley and Moxley and Omega, but the dud. But this is my favorite AEW feud so far. I'm in the same boat as you. I want to see this. I want to see this come to a conclusion. But like, given the time frame, it's like, all right, Swerve got the title in April. He's gonna lose it in. He has potential to lose it in August to Hangman, and if he's facing Hangman probably needs to win because he's 2-1 against a guy that's a rival, right? Like I don't know if I said it on air, but I said it to y'all. I was like, hey man, like, is it going to turn in some Bones Jones and Cormier shit? We're like, Swerve beats Hangman, and Hangman at the end of it, well, is it a robbery if you have all these fights, all these matches, and one person never wins? Can we be called a robbery with a boo-boo face? You don't want that. And it's also like, well, Hangman is the heel in this. Like, do you really want to have your second WrestleMania, your biggest show of the year, like your heel win the title? It just always never really felt right or whatever else. So I feel like at appropriate time is like in the fall, then get to it, whether either one of them is a champion or whatever else, and get to it. And I feel like that's enough time. Hangman needs to win the next match they have. Similar to like when we talk about like Okada and Omega, like if they ever have another match, Okada needs to win it to continue this thing. So like
title or non-title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Swerve and Hangman, whether it's title or non-title, Hangman needs to win the next one, right? You're saying, right?
I absolutely believe that, yes.
Yeah.
To make this thing continue, because of what? Like if he was in a title match and he won a title, it's like, okay, that's kind of end of his story. Like he was driven to take this thing away from Swerve because Swerve was so driven and out of his mind to win the thing that he did something incredibly ridiculous to Hangman. Hangman deserves his vengeance on that. But it's like, all right, so he's this incredibly motivated, fired up person that you love to watch. The fire's gone, more or less gone now. If he wins it, and then it's like, all right, so what next opponent comes in, then you got to start kind of from scratch. As opposed to have this story, and it's like, oh, so this story, because Heyman's been gone for so long, it's like, okay, so this story only lasted 6 weeks. But it's like, you can get more out of that. Like, the next time they have a big match, like, that could be a pay-per-view main event thing, and that's the thing, that's the money match. You can save that, and that's the thing with booking, is like, booking is about giving you everything you want right now. It's setting up things that you want and then eventually giving it to you at hopefully a perfect time, but if not, still give it to you. And like this Danielson thing, it's just a luck. It's like the Sting thing where it's like, he's on the way out. Let's sell some tickets. And obviously it'll be more than that. They'll have the promo battles. They'll make their story. And I'm not concerned about that because we've seen Brian make his story with tons of people. We've seen Swerve make his story with tons of people. Like, these are two people I trust to whip up something. Like I just saw Swerve whip up something with Ospreay just a month ago. So I didn't have any concerns about that. Like, you can keep this percolate. And also, like, the whole thing with this elite thing with, the dynamics of Swerve and the Young Bucks and Okada and Hangman and the Young Bucks and Okada. And like when Hangman went to that door and knocked, I think it was what do you call it? It was like a misdirection where you thought he was going to try to beat up Danielson, and he knocks on the door. It's the Elite's door, and Okada answers it, and he's like, "Can I help you?" He's like, "It's none of your concern." And then he's like, "Can I help you?" And it's like, that could be, you know, you're saying like, so what does Page get out of this? It's like, he might get Okada. That might be the match for Hangman. So like, I think it's really good. Like this, if you want to have this situation where like, you like this character, but he's obviously evil, and you want to babyface him to send him on this chase towards Swerve later on in the year, perfect setup with what's going on with Blood and Guts. So you might be able to get everything you want and get a better dynamic for the face heel thing, to where it's like anti-hero and babyface, or anti-hero versus anti-hero. You pick your side, but like, obviously this guy chasing got home invaded. You might be able to switch him back. So I think that this sets up for better long-term storytelling between this particular rivalry. So it's more layers for this.
This is, I think, you know, for a lot of people, this is their first taste of disappointment. And
can't be, because most of the people that I heard complain about this are the same people that hated what happened to Hangman with Punk.
Well,
so
I mean,
it can't be the first taste.
You know, I think you're right. Looking back on that one, I think we gotta give him that one.
I'm not saying that they're not right. I'm just saying that, like, we cannot be acting like Danielson is CM Punk. He ain't out here fighting people. He ain't out here telling people they can't come to the building unless he's finding them because they said something stupid on Twitter, right? Like, it's not the same thing. I understand it. I get the. Remember we used to talk about how we have PTSD from all the Vince stuff. Like, people have PTSD from this whole from the Punk Reign of Terror backstage or whatever else. It's fine. Trust me, it's going to be fine. Like I just remember last week we had this conversation and you were like, Danielson. I'm like, bro, the disappointment in Bryan Danielson is crazy to me. Like, I didn't realize this what we come to. This dude's had this kind of, you know, last 8 months, and we just like, oh, and people were around like, oh, I certainly hope it's not this guy that might be the second best wrestler in the last 8 months of pro wrestling. I'm like, are we losing you know, perspective? It's crazy.
I think the thing with Danielson of why he's like, there's a level of where he's not moving people, because it's like the matches are great. You can't argue with the matches. There are like a lot of like trophy things I think that he is doing right now that, you know, either have to do with his injuries, whether it's real or fake, I think is, you know, annoying to varying extents or whatever. And it's just like, there's no history whatsoever of like moving business for him. So, you know, there is that aspect of it too. So it's like, all right, you know, but I can see Swerve and Danielson, like they can have a great match. Like, they can have a great feud. I'm just interested in what's it going to be. I have not asked for anything. I haven't even knocked the door down like, hey, here are my suggestions. I have done nothing. I want no parts of this or whatever. I want to just watch, you know? And, you know, I kind of want to see how it all plays out. But, you know, if it's truly the final countdown, as Swerve said in that promo, and I'm, you know, still confused about what this whole, you know, this is the end of my full-time retirement thing, you know, or this is the last year of his full-time wrestling career. Mm-hmm. To me, that means nothing. Like, as far as like, what is a quote-unquote full-time wrestling career in AEW? It's a lot less.
Well, people only wrestle once a week anyway.
Yeah, like, I don't understand. Like I don't get that. So, like, you know, I don't think he's going anywhere. So, like, it's like kind of falling flat for me. But I don't know. Like, so like, it came. Swerve came out after the match. Cut a promo, had a stare down with Danielson, hit him with the line about, you know, it's going to be your final countdown. And, you know, I saw it. Swerve had a lot to do in that promo. He had And I think Floyd actually
He had
did
to
a
follow
great
that
job.
match.
Yeah, Floyd did a great job on All Things Elite, kind of breaking down everything he had to do. So, and I don't think it was Swerve's best night on the mic, but consider this: you have to follow that match. You have to send a warning shot to your opponent for Wembley Stadium.
Yep.
You have to talk about the blood and guts match, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yep.
I don't think is the hottest thing in the world.
And he had to do that so that like you can have Hangman immediately say, "I want into the cage too."
Right. And then, he has to call out Kazuchika Okada on the other side of it too.
To set up the 250 match. The 250 show match on Thursday, yeah.
So it's like he had to do a lot of things and then like vacillate between what his character is, essentially going versus the Elite. What his character will be going against Danielson, which, we don't know yet. So like there's a lot there. Yeah. So that was commendable on his behalf. And I'm interested to see where it goes. So
same, because of the talent level of both of them. Like it's a match I've wanted to see for forever. Like, I've wanted to see, pretty much ever since, for a while, like, I know he's your homeboy and everything, but, ever since I started watching him in 2019, and then in NXT, I was like, hey man, I want to see this guy versus top guys in whatever promotion he's in. And he finally got that spot in large, gigantic part to this, soon to be legendary feud that we just romanticized about. And like, I want to see him versus all the other top guys, the Okadas. I want to see that. I want to see him versus Danielson. I want to see him versus Moxley. I want to see him versus Omega whenever he's ready. I want to see all of that. Like, I just got the Ospreay match. It was fucking phenomenal.
So I don't know if I'm talking out of turn here. So like, also a big part of like Swerve's, rise to the top in front of the camera, behind the camera, people supporting behind, the scenes. Danielson's been a huge supporter of Swerve's.
You told me that before.
This is just, me shit talking or whatever. Like, no one told me this, but what are the chances like that, like, Danielson picks Swerve, essentially for, like, hey, I want to, the last guy that, I go in there, quote unquote, with and, win the world title from or headline Wembley Stadium with. Mm-hmm. What are the chances that conversation went down? I don't know. I didn't ask, but, take that into consideration too. So,
yeah. And Danielson's not the only guy that Rich has told me before to like Swerve. Like, people will have like Swerve in that way or think highly of him in that way. So, I may have name dropped one or two of them before when I said I wanted to see them in these matches before. So I may have said that a little bit earlier, maybe like 3 minutes ago, if you want to go back and rewind. But yeah, man, like I'm just happy that he's getting the match. I'm happy that like, either way he's gonna be main eventing this thing. But like, I'm just happy he's getting a match against like. A match that people are going to, there's a bunch of people that, not so much Hangman, but just because his association with Omega and the Young Bucks will try to write him off until they see him wrestle and then they're like, oh, never mind. Or because of the CM Punk shit or whatever else.
I think like, this is a good time to bring that up.
There is, but like, there is, like, you get Swerve in there with somebody like, the reputation is like unassailable, and Heyman's reputation should be unassailable too, unless you're a fucking idiot. But you get my point. Like, people that ain't paying attention might be fooled. If you paying attention, you already know. So for me, it's like there's somebody in there that like reputation worldwide is solid. So like we're going to see this match, and like I feel like this has a chance to go up and be one of those best match of the year situations. I mean, I think the floor is one of the best matches of the year. Because I'm saying like this could be a special match, and don't get me wrong. I think every potential match between Hangman and Swerve is special because one of them might bleed out, but special in a different way.
Insane chemistry, insane. Just kind of like knowing what the other is going to do, and I would say ultimate trust between the two.
Yeah, and an incredible story.
From there, I think we should talk about
what if The Rock and Triple H were two of the best wrestlers in the world, actually, and
liked each other.
Yeah, that too. and want to do business. And actually want to do business with each other.
So it's interesting, man, to see which way it's gonna go. But another huge match that got set up at All In from the Owen Hart tournament, the women's side, Mariah May defeats Willow Nightingale in a smoker of a match. Just kind of like I think this match is kind of gonna get kind of lost like in the aftermath of the angle, because the match was awesome. Like it was just like, hold on, man, like like it had been some hard times, for the AEW women's division. Look, people, if you watch this company from the bottom, from the rooter to the tutor, that's where we at right now.
The field mob, that's crazy.
But yeah, this shit was awesome. Then we get this angle.
Yeah. I
had my mind changed on it, like, as it was happening. Because I wanted Toni Storm to turn on her. And essentially be like, I'm going to snap, quote unquote, out of this gimmick or whatever, but I know exactly what the fuck is going on all these months, and I'm going to beat you like I own you. Like, I thought that was going to be, Toni there. But seeing Mariah do it, look, it's really easy for me to buy into Mariah May not shit.
God damn it. Stop. Why are you...
It's really easy. There's this look on her face.
Oh, okay.
There's this look on her face, and the way she whooped this woman with this shoe, and it was like, oh, like, and then like I saw a lot of people like send out her initial introduction promos and just kind of tie up all the threads to this thing, and you see it. This is masterfully done.
Yes. Yes.
I there was, we got some friends that ain't necessarily rocking with this, and it's like, hey man, if you ask for pro wrestling that makes sense, if you ask for a pro wrestling that has a beginning, middle, end, and all points in between that are going up and down, and then building up for a big match, this match has like a 9-month build on it, and this shit's going to be hotter. I've seen people that think this should go on last, James.
No, that's absurd.
I don't agree with those people, but the fact that is out there or whatever, they gave him the close of Dynamite, obviously, and they're going to have a hell of a match, I think. And also, like, it's like, all right, are they going to strap Mariah May up here? Is Toni Storm going to win? I think you got to throw your hands up and be like, hey, we're just going to have to see. And I think, the people that are involved in this shit should be commended.
Yeah. RJ
City. I don't know if the Pepperman has her hands in this. I don't know if Will has his hands in this or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of care being put into this thing. And we know Mariah can cut the promos needed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see if Toni Storm can rise to the occasion, because now something is dramatically happened to this character. Is she going to react like a goofball, or is she going to react somewhat like a human? We'll see.
All right. So you want my opinion on this one?
Sure.
Now, this is only going to be a background change. I don't have a shirt. I don't have another shirt to rip off this Mariah Ray shirt. I don't have that. I don't. That's just a Danielson thing. It was just this. But, yeah, like, I didn't see any of the, what you're talking about as far as people playing back the original clips of it, but like when it turned out, my immediately sexy, I was like, this has always been single white female, and they just ran and they just went back to the course that it was always on. And like, the even to hammer it further in, like when she started bashing her head with that stiletto, like
stilettos, pumps in the club.
When she started hitting her with that stiletto, like in Single White Woman, the crazy woman that tried to Jennifer Jason Leigh's character kill somebody with a fucking stiletto. Like, it all tracks. Like, I was always trying to take your life over. I actually started being your old Harley, your Motley Crue gimmick, all that kind of stuff. And then like we finally get the shot. I finally get my first chance to actually do it. And I grab that belt and I grab a pro wrestling belt and I whoop them. You didn't see my background? Whooping Mariah, whooping Toni, whooping Luther. Bro, I was howling. I haven't enjoyed a turn in pro wrestling this much. And I mean,
bro, it was like I have hated y'all for months.
I can't remember the last time I enjoyed her. I can't. Okay, don't hold me to this one. But like when Becky Lynch beat the shit out of Charlotte after SummerSlam 2018. That's like the last time I enjoyed a turn this much. Like, where it's just like, not necessarily like the storyline's so great, like, it's so satisfying where it's like, whoop them! Beat their ass! Bro, it was so good. And then she ran the razor. Oh, excellent.
Hey, that was the real one.
And then they zoomed out, and then you see on the Titantron the match. It was so good. I mean, just hats off to everybody. Like, man, like this was set up and executed so well. Luther got whooped with that belt. He got his ass.
That man did go flip bump. Bro, threw a table off of stage.
That belt shot that sent him through there didn't even connect. He still went.
Luther decided, I'm going up.
Bro, Mariah missed her by like half a foot. He's fucking.
I'm going anyway. So, bro, like, when I was,
the fusion, he said, flip.
So when I was a kid, like I used to do karate, right?
Yeah.
So like they used to have like this thing called form, right? So form is when you do a routine that's basically like you're fighting imaginary people, whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you'll have a person come into the form and that person is called an uki or whatever. Okay. And basically what they do is fly around for you and take bumps and shit. So like this man came out there like a uki essentially and just, took the flip bump and falling on his back and shit.
He was the Uki man.
The Uki, yes.
Bro, it was so good. And I was like, this match needed a turn to get the extra oomph in it, given they had been together so long. And a lot of us thought it was going to be Toni Storm, but like them doing Mariah was the right choice. Because like now she has a new breath of life. Win or lose, she can move on and be her own character and move on inside of this division and fight people on her own right, as opposed to just, being like the damaged little girl like Bayley was with, getting, bullied around by like the horsewoman in NXT. Like she struck first. So she bombed first. So this is good. Like she ain't no sucker. I really enjoyed this. And like, win or lose, like Toni gonna have the sympathy on her and everything. And like, she can still be her character, but play like a vengeful, scorned, former damsel. Like she could be out for blood. Like because obviously that happened to her.
Dream Sooner, if you listen to this, can you please chop this attack up and put Tupac's bomb first over it?
Oh God.
Can you do that for me, please? And those of y'all that hear this, y'all know Dream Sooner. Please relay him this message. He's my personal my personal video editor.
Yeah. But like, this thing has been trending up like ever since, like Toni Storm finally like figured it all out with making the character work with like her matches and Luther interference and like the wrestling and making the matches work. Like this thing has turned around, especially like this women's division, as you mentioned, is night and day different. Bro, we're still liable to get a Willow and Stat match on this card.
On top of Mercedes versus Britt, which is like, they dropped a Britt Baker interview today. I haven't watched it yet, but it's one with Renee, and I saw a short clip from it. And if they going like, the way I think they going, like, they're going to be getting at it too. And Mercedes cut a promo basically thanking the Elite. She said she's the past, present, and future. The best there is, best there was, best there ever will be in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Nasty.
It was funny. She said she needs Britt to wake up from her fantasy at All In. She did. Mercedes leave for dead. Britt's music came out. Britt hitting security guards with forearms and super kicks and all types of other shit. And then, she ran Mercedes off. Mercedes ran through the crowd. I think it is, it would be pretty easy to see who the face and the heel is here.
Yes.
Should anybody be confused by this, James?
Should anybody? I mean, I haven't listened to Alvarez in a minute. I wonder if he's confused still. I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, man. I have yet to have my request answered on Twitter. Like, once Mercedes ran out the ring and basically did the plies, tiptoeing shit, like, in the heels to run away, I wanted that as a GIF. Actually, I have a copy of it. I might have to make my own GIF of it. It was fucking hilarious. Like, she's so good as a heel. She really is. Like, she was a heel when she was in Stardom, and I enjoyed that, because she was trolling the shit out of us, like, AZM. Remember that? So, she's so good. She's so good, and, like, I still have my question about the match because it's Britt Baker in the singles match, but man, like, they're off to a really hot start. They're off to a start as well as that you could actually expect them to be at. Mercedes
made worse work, so
that is true. I think the part about that is, like, I think that, like, Britt and Mercedes are actually, like, working towards a common goal. As opposed to, like, Mercedes had to work with some people and it wasn't working towards a common goal. It was working on, like, trying to have wrestle match without contact.
Yeah. So, also notable on the show, Darby Allin whooped the shit out of Brandon Cutler. It basically kind of hinted that, one, he wants Jack Perry, and two, he might be in all this blood and guts. So, like, Darby Allin is funny. We saw what he did at Anarchy in the Arena.
Yes.
Right?
He needed a month off so he can go back in there and do it again.
It just hit me that we've never seen this guy in blood and guts.
It's insane. It's dangerous.
It is like, all right. So, like, I understand the lack of quote unquote heat for blood and guts, and there's, like, there's a question about it, so I'm gonna save it. But yeah. If you throw Darby Allin in this shit, like, we know that guy's insane. He's doing a coffin drop off the cage. I'm calling it now.
Okay, so Brewhaven in the chat says that Darby is a top 10 white people. Reading that the way that it was written is fucking hilarious. A top 10 white people. That's
yes.
Funny.
Yes. That's funny.
Man, we look, regardless of whether, we get the Jack match, later down the line over the TNT title, given, that Jack is a TNT champion currently and Darby's history with the TNT title, or we get it in Blood and Guts or both, like, this is the right feud for the right time. This is the right program for the right time. It really is.
Blast Saber Jr., what's the O&R top 10 white people list looking like? Oh my God.
Thanks for listening, y'all. That's the end of the show. We got a good hour in. It's time to get the fuck out of here. I don't have answers for your questions on that one.
That's a lot to demand off the top of the head. All right,
it truly is.
Look, maybe one day we'll put that out, somewhere, exclusive or something.
Seth Rich Rogan, James Boy White Race Review.
God damn.
That's, man, number 10, Chris Jericho might be on somebody's list on here, but it won't be on mine. That's for damn sure.
My close personal friend Chris Jericho, who I shared a beverage with before.
Yeah, you have shared a beverage with him. I don't think our notes are going. I don't think he's going to fit in the cinema circle of the Venn diagram between James Boyd and Rich Lotta's list of top 10 favorite white people. I just don't. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't.
Rambo Slampy, I like to consider myself one of the good ones.
Oh my God.
Oh my God!
Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna have on my list, right? I'm gonna have on my list Dean Smith, who helped integrate North Carolina. You gonna have Chris Jericho on your list? What the fuck?
Hey, you know that? Look, that there is that running Chris Jericho list.
Oh
I keep updating and sending to you.
What you say?
You know there is that running Chris Jericho list that I keep updating and sending to you.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So let's get into the questions. So I'll start with the Twitter stuff here.
Hey, Rich, they came up with a nasty suggestion in here.
Let's see. Yeah, put it on FOH.
Yeah, we gotta put. If we gonna do it, if we ever gonna do it, it's gotta be behind a paywall. Y'all gotta pay for that. Yeah.
Top 10 white people of all time. Considering.
Oh my god.
Oh no, definitely
absolutely
not.
The fuck not. Not a chance. We ain't been to WrestleMania, and
well, he should have never done that shit. Half of them shows suck. More than half of them. So Black Sabre Jr. Coming
that
through.
man has a weird case. He is not in the top 10.
He said, you know those wrestling mixtapes that you see on Twitter with the highlights with the music in the background? Yes, I do. Very familiar with them. He said, if you were in charge of the music choice, what would you put in the background for these wrestlers' mixtapes? Arisa Nakajima, Kenta Kobashi, Arisa Hoshiki, 2019 Johnny Gargano, Jay White, and Natalia. I got one for Kenta Kobashi. I think you can do Mobb Deep Burn. I think that would be a good one.
Oh, I was gonna do Waka Flocka Hard in the Paint.
you can use that for Arisa Nakajima.
Yes. Hold on, can I reach from here? Hold on, I'll be right back. Hold on. Yep, can reach it. This came in the mail yesterday, actually. This actually came in the mail yesterday. Yeah, I bought her, ended up buying her shirt. I don't know if it's her, like, retirement shirt, but, like, I was like, I need another Arisa Nakajima shirt before she hangs it up, so I ended up buying it off of Ceelin's, website with, I think it's called Japan Rabbit. Like, Velkesh hooked me up with the assist on that one, so shout out to Velkesh. You know, when Velkesh ain't, like, room for evil motherfuckers in pro wrestling, like, he's actually a good guy.
Big Velk.
Yeah.
VAG. So, Kenta Kobashi, I think you can find any song that has, you know, the word burn in it and do it. Like Black Sabre Jr. also suggested the Usher Let It Burn. That would be funny.
Okay.
Just him lariating people.
Or chopping people around their fucking head.
Burning hammers.
Yeah.
That
Burning
Disco Inferno. That burn, baby, burn.
Disco Inferno?
Disco Inferno. You pull that out. Arisa Hoshiki. You could just put that Nelly Just a Dream, you know, because it seemed like so long ago, she was around.
Oh, I was gonna do Lil Jon Eastside Boys with Styles P and Jadakiss. We knocking heads off.
That'll
and
work.
Show her give people the Brazilian kick over and over. Yeah, or the 1399 that when she basically did the rounds off the top rope.
Yeah, can I kick it? That's a good one.
It's like you would tear your ACL every time you did it.
Yeah. You can do kicking the door. You could do, let's see, 2019 Johnny Gargano. Ain't it fun? Paramore. You can do that.
Let's see. I'll probably pick some off the Riot album, but let's see. Nah, probably not Hallelujah. That's crazy. The intro, probably the intro off of Riot. I forgot what the name of the song is, but it's the intro.
Jay White.
Ooh. That's tough.
I don't know.
AEW Jay White or in New Japan Pro Wrestling Jay White?
I don't know Jay White because Nicki Minaj Hard White. Put that up.
Okay.
Then Natalia. Got nothing for you on that one.
I'm going to reserve my answer for off air to give about Natalia Rich.
God damn it. Yeah. 2. What is the percentage that Swerve walks out of Wembley still the AEW champion?
Ooh. Probably 60-40. Did he
50.
hold the title?
He could win or he could lose.
I think same. I mean, like I think if I were to put money on, I'd be like, I'd imagine because given that how Danielson gets down, like Look, first, you might need CM Punk to go. You might need CM Punk to show up and be like, "Hey, Danielson, you're going over." "Oh, no, I don't want to go over. You're going over. Put him in the guillotine. Try to put him in the guillotine. You're going over. Ain't no saying when you come through this curtain, you put a smile on your face. You're finna win. But yeah, like I say that like the title change is definitely a possibility, but I think I probably still go with Swerve right now. Right now, depending on how this bill goes, I could be swayed, back to straight at 50-50, but right now I'm 60-40 Swerve retains.
3. How many Manami Toyota and Aja Kong spots will Mercedes try to do against Nyla for their match on Wednesday?
Oh God. Hopefully they don't try the that victory roll joint, because I don't think Manami's bigger than you think she is. And also both of them, Manami and Aja Kong, were a lot more athletic than Mercedes and Nyla. So you think you're gonna do some Tokyo Dome shit? It might be your last bump.
What I say? You mean you ain't trying to see Mercedes like run full speed and jump on the top rope with both feet and then do a front flip over the top rope onto Nyla, who's on the table? You know
how people talk about bags and everything? You think that club? You think that particular golf club is in Mercedes' bag? Because I don't. We would have seen it before. First off, hell, in that Heyman match just last weekend when Danielson hit that springboard flip dive to the floor, I jumped out myself. Let's fucking go, Danielson. Let's go, Brian. Big flip out here. Show the RLPW. Look, I'm telling you this right now. It was very similar to when Kingston fought Claudio in the C2, where it's like, I'm behind right now. I'm desperate. Like, I got to make a play. And then you got that tope from Kingston, right? Look, if Danielson did that flip dive, don't let Rich fool you. Danielson will not be in the back of that poster that says RLPW. He put him on there. He said, "Oh, fine, I'll give it to him. He won. He hit a little flip for me. He still do what I want to do." But after that last week, I was like, I don't know. He might need to take Danielson off of there the way he was talking. But Danielson had the flip and he got the win, and he's been convinced otherwise now. So he's still back in his good graces. But man, as far as Mercedes and Nyla, I'm interested to see how the match goes. Like, it could be a great, monster match. Monster versus little match. I'm sure Mercedes wanted to wrestle her for a long time.
Yeah. Better artists, Luther Vandross or Teddy Pendergrass. Not so much my bag here. I'll say I would prefer to sample Teddy Pendergrass.
Okay. How do I say this without any chance of any of my family hearing this, and therefore it eventually gets to my mom? I'm going to go with Teddy Pendergrass 2. Now, if I'll let you know next week, if my mom hears about this, I expect her to give me a call, and she's not going to like it. My mom loves Luther Vandross. Loves him. Seen him multiple times. So, just let you know, I grew up in a household that was playing a lot of Luther. However, I always felt that what resonated with me more was Teddy. And I never verbalized that in my mom's household or in her vicinity. So, just let you know, it's a sensitive subject. Or in the Boyd Miller Bellamy residence, just in family connections, all that kind of bonds. Like, cause now that I think about it, my grandma loved Luther too. So, like, got her soul, but yeah, man, this was a Luther family. So I can't
be half-stepping.
I'm compromised, right? Like, I'm like, somebody's gonna sew this. I'm gonna have to deal with this. I'm gonna, like,
compromise, like, act.
So you've been in a similar situation, right? If you ever, how you sometimes you kind of cringe or wince whenever you feel like you might have to say something negative about like Aaliyah or Michael Jackson because of your family ties. It's similar to that. It's a strain. It might cause a strain in a relationship.
Yeah, I try not to be critical at all. You know.
I remember one time Rich was like, I don't know, I might get excommunicated. I might get excommunicated. I was like, really? Damn.
Another one, Blast Paper says, Onar started in 2012. If my data serves me right, it's now 2024. My God. What are some things in wrestling that are better and worse than they were in 2012? I think ease of access for sure. Like, as far as like how much wrestling you can see, where you can see it through legal means, are much better now. And that just has to do with the advancement of technology.
Yeah. You have that. I also think that women's wrestling, as far as the availability to see high quality women's wrestlers and from any place on earth, like I feel like even in WWE, aside from, you know, the last year or so, like women's wrestling in WWE was much better in ring, storylines, stars. AEW caught up this year, and you know, then like you know. The idea that there's going to be a Joshi promotion that gets any buzz whatsoever over the last few years, like Stardom has, is a big deal. Like, there were, you know, in the 2000s, there were Meiko Satomura, Aja Kong matches that went the fuck off and should have gotten 5 stars from Dave Meltzer or something of that level and should have been on people's Match of the Year contender thing and never saw the light of day. Out of Gaia, out of other places, just didn't happen. So the fact that like you have, as you mentioned, the access to be able to see those things, people can actually see it and hear word of mouth about these wrestlers that they otherwise never would have heard of.
Yeah, I think your bang average like nationally televised match is probably a little better now. And obviously the top end, like so, like back in like when we were watching like. James used to say something to me like, there were 2 great matches on this pay-per-view. Like, let it, like, that's that what more can you ask for or whatever? Like,
on
like,
a 3-hour show.
Right. These were things that were just commonly accepted things. Like, that now is a disaster, right? I will say, you know, just looking at it, like, the independent circuit was a lot stronger then and a hell of a lot weaker now, for sure. And that's because of the arms race that's going on for talent. I would say singular star power was a little bit different in 2012 as well, because this is pre-WWE Network. There's a pre-streaming era, you know, and AEW is kind of a throwback in a sense to like where they said we're going to, you know, make our bones on the pay-per-view business. And, you know, they showed basically it was still viable, but like in 2012, it was like John Cena was just like selling a lot of pay-per-views, like, and you know, him and The Rock, like, don't let them and their funny numbers like that they put out now, basically these press releases talk about this is the hottest time, like in some areas, yes, it is hot. It has to do with television money, it has to do with you know, other shit like that, but 1 million motherfuckers plus were laying their dollars down for like WrestleMania 28.
How much a pop at the time?
At like $50 or $60 or $70 a pop, like with the HD and
depending
shit.
On
like,
HD, yep.
These like like that's the hottest. Like these were singular stars, like singular matches. People were coming back. CM Punk, Chris Jericho, matching up. You know, obviously not how they are now. Like you know, younger. Mm-hmm. The Rock and John Cena, the last gasp of the Undertaker and Triple H, essentially like. Those are some of the biggest, like if you just look at it, like, yeah, man, they were making money the quote unquote legit way or whatever, not the business to business stuff. This was from the fans, and
they hadn't realized like what was going to happen to like the event market, to where like they could have charged way more for tickets, and they didn't do so until later, and like they could have charged the price they charge now back then, and they would have went crazy. They went crazy. So there's also that factor. Cause like, I mean, hell, if they did it right now, they were to pull out that same exact WrestleMania card from WrestleMania 28 and put it on night 1 or night 2 of WrestleMania, it would do better than what they're doing now. And they're doing great and they're making crazy bank off gates. But I'm just saying like they didn't know. They didn't realize that like they could charge ridiculous prices for floor seats and all that kind of stuff and like still get people to buy it, and then they'll just let the prices down later. at later time. Like what they've done to the UK with Clash of the Castle the last 2 years is high level robbery. They dying to pay for it.
That's a test run. That shit's coming here.
Yeah.
Get ready. So last one, he said, it was said that the Trump shooter shot 8 shots from a long range distance and only hit once. Is the shooter related to Bronny James?
And this is where we started talking about this, right?
No.
Okay. I'll say, if we're going to talk about it, you go first, because...
So we got MJ does PR. He says, gentlemen, hope you're well, having a great summer. Who has the top silks in the game right now, Nahonian or otherwise?
Ooh. I mean, right now for me, it'd probably be Mercedes.
Yeah, I was thinking Mercedes too. She shows up, in fits for sure. 2, have you given Eminem's new album a spin? Thoughts on the production? I made it 4 songs through the Eminem album before I had to stop.
Really? You made it through 4?
I made it through 4. And I just can't do it. I don't want to do it.
You want to know the last Eminem album I listened to or project I listened to?
What?
Martha Mathers LP 2. So that was 2013.
Yeah, like it's like he wants. It's like there's a certain level of like outrage. It's like, don't you get it? Don't you get what I'm doing? I want you to be mad. This is how I always. And it's just like, this is not needed. Essentially, like this is like on a week where I listen to the Common and Pete Rock album, and that shit is jamming like all the way through. Guy probably the same age as Eminem, right? And I'm listening to this. He's actually saying something, and he's like displaying his talent and his skills, and like basically like what's old is new with him. And then Eminem is dipping into this, the Slim Shady stuff, and it's just like it don't quite work for me. Like, and it hasn't worked for me in a long time. And like the Eminem I like wasn't obsessed with rapping fast all the time, also either. Like,
well, how else are you able to show your skills if you don't rap fast?
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah,
and that's not no knock on necessarily him, but like a lot of people feel like if you switch up the flow and you rap in triplets or you rap, double time or whatever else, and like that means you're rapping your ass off. And it's like, nah, man, like just rap. Like it's fine. And like one of the things with Eminem is like we listen to an Eminem project, especially like post Eminem show. It is very apparent that he is trying his damnedest to let you know that he is still hungry. He is rapping his ass off. And it's like, that's cool, man. But like, being a great rapper and making great songs are not necessarily like
the same
exact thing. Like, I understand that's a good process to think that like, if you have the killer raps that go over the beats, those are a great starting point for a foundation. But it's like sometimes you need to like strip back the stuff and all of the intricacies and get back to like the basics or whatever else. Like
maybe he just needs to go outside.
Eminem just can't have a Young Boys match. He can't just go out there and have a solid Young Boys match.
He just needs to go outside and like live life. That's a big
part of it too.
Like but it's hard for him to live life because he's Eminem. He can't walk around like us.
When you're that famous. And, when you're that kind of fame for that long and you are antisocial, yeah, I can see why he stays home. And like when you stay home, you lose perspective, right? And I think I think the thing is a lot of people, that's what caught people slipping with the Kendrick Lamar stuff, or people that like the Drake fans that thought that like there was this day was like that
shit would never
gonna happen, was like, you think that this guy, because of the music he makes, doesn't have perspective, or his ear is pulse on what's happening around him. And it's like, no, this dude just made the song of the year off of calling your favorite a pedophile. That is the biggest checkmate ever. Speaking of that, I was hanging out with Marcus today, and Marcus is on the OVO mall, OVO-ish.
Oh, no.
he's dragging. I was like, so you pretending like you pretending like this is in the club. He was like, it's different, man. The era's changed. Like, I was like, man, get the fuck out of my face, Marcus. Get out of here.
I'm gonna text Marcus tomorrow. I'm like, hey man, it's not a perpetration. It's not a foolery.
It's funny. It's like, it was funny. We were talking about a few things, actually. We've been talking about, like, since we're talking about rap right now, like, we were talking about, like, the Busta Rhymes Essence Fest thing.
Uh-huh.
And I was saying, like, look, man, like, the game has changed on this, and, like, the old guys don't know how to handle, like, the new generation, or how they give energy back to people, and it's not necessarily disrespect, it's just, they're all addicted to their phones or their devices or whatever's in front of them as a screen, and, like, it's hard to beat the screen, because the screen is instant dopamine, instant gratification. So, like, when Busta Rhymes basically as Essence Fest is like, hey man, like, what are y'all doing? Get off your phones. I need to.
A lot of that with the Eminem too is like yelling at the audience about what they like or whatever. Like, there's a huge part of that in the first like 4 songs. And I'm like, I don't want to be yelled at. Like, I'm good.
Right. I think a lot of that, like, cause we were now at this point now, like, you know, the 444 with Jay-Z a few years ago, Method and Redman at Summer Jam saying that because of the way to cry that they're never doing Summer Jam again. Busta Rhymes Essence Fest. Common and Pete Rock doing that album. Q-Tip and LL doing their album that's coming out, I think, in the fall.
I will be checking for that.
Yeah, Passion's dope. And that song with that he had with that I first heard the first song thing with Rick Ross and Fat Joe. I thought that was hard. I thought that beat was tough. So I think
if y'all haven't watched this LL Cool J interview, please watch it.
It's fucking hilarious. Rich sent me a clip of it, the part about, like, I was talking to Mark about this too, about, like, the whole Jay-Z, LL Cool J beef. And, like, it's like they still, or LL still can't let this shit go. He still can't let this shit go. And he was like, you know, like the part where he said, like, you know, people think that you was talking about him on lounging. He's like, because, you know, you talking about the Lexus on there, and then Jay-Z was always talking about the Lexus back then. And the face, when they cut the LL making the face, like, are you fucking kidding me? And he goes, what, the nigga has stock in Lexus? I can't run out of Lexus? Are you kidding me? Like, that was hilarious, bro. So, but anyway, like, there is an actual, you can see the old guys can still do this at a high level because it's not actually a sport. This is just like, rap has always been so obsessed with youth culture. It's like a lot of, you know, rock and roll was, right? Like, you age out of the process. People just tune you out. Next generation want their guys, their age that they can more relate to as far as the things they're going through. And that happens. But these guys are still super talented, and if you can, and also we're at a point now where these guys are all legends, so like their emeritus status, like necessarily, it's not about selling what's, you know, a shit ton of records or being number one. It's about like doing things and still being able to go on tour and hit these certain pockets that you know you can do some touring with and make some money, and people can still appreciate your skill level even though you've aged out. Another perfect example of this is Nas with the King's Disease run.
Yeah,
with Hit Boy,
6 albums,
right. So, for me, like, there is going to be an adjustment of, like, dealing with, if they're going to be put in these certain showcase events that are not the people that are, like, they're just, you know, heading for the particular demographic of, like, the people that listen to, you know, Extinction Level event, that listen to Cal. I went over to Cal we went through a real quick run on Cal with LaMarcus, and I was like, bro, it's so crazy how he was set up for in the early 90s, and then he didn't become like an all-time great MCs, even though skills there.
He just went regular platinum.
But you listen to Cal and you understand why, because like why is he rapping over this kind of shit? but especially that back half. But yeah, those guys are still if they're going to be put in these mainstream events. Eminem is still, because of the amount of records he sells, it still has to be relatively considered a mainstream event, even though he should be considered aged out guy. Because of all these contemporaries we just named. All these contemporaries that we just named are him, all motherfuckers from 20 years ago. So he's going to have this thing where people are going to listen to him, and he might do some talking down or have a disconnect with the youth, and it's going to come off the words like, you don't understand because you didn't grow up on being addicted to your phone. You may have been addicted to porn, but you weren't addicted to your phone. Like, you may have been addicted to, like, you might be addicted to your phone now because there's porn on there, but not because of the ways that we're addicted to it. So, like this ball of that story where he's talking about how he's showing what's called you ever heard that story about Eminem with the DVD collection he had?
No.
He was with somebody that was interviewing for a profile piece, and he had he showed this person his collection of porn DVDs, and then the person replied to him, "Yeah, man, you can just watch all this online now." And the person basically had to show that man all that shit he got. That whole fucking case of shit is online, and you can put that shit, you can just watch that shit somewhere else without spending money to buy fucking brick and mortar like hard physical copies of the film Sex and Fornication. I always thought like that's how out of touch he is, and to himself he is. But yeah, man, like I just see like that's happening. It's like you gotta adjust. Like you gotta if you are going to there's going to be a disconnect because, and ultimately my point was before we went on this huge tangent was like the way rap changed was like with the club stuff. It used to be we were coming up, right? Can you play some shit that can knock that's gonna sound good in your car? Is it gonna sound good wherever you out at a function? Is it gonna sound good, or does it sound good when you alone by yourself, or when you just vibing or whatever else? You had different things to play for different parts of whatever you're doing in your life or your lifestyle or different things you're going through, and it may hit you different ways with whatever is whatever the setting is.
Yeah,
but ultimately, rap started.
To move the crowd.
It started out in the park. But, it's like you had a DJ and you had a master of ceremonies, an MC. And the crowd was vibing to the music that made people want to dance, and then the person was rapping over it. That's the essence of rap. And then, when we were, as I mentioned to Marcus, like when we were a certain age, like, bro, you used to go to the club and you be hot as fuck in the club because motherfuckers want to dance on the floor. Now, everything's bottle service. The soundtrack matches that, or actually the
don't nobody want to dance.
The bottle service stuff more matches the soundtrack of what it became the soundscape of the music, where it's like we're relaxed, we're vibed out. We might be on activists, right?
Yeah.
It is like, hey, we not dancing. Our heartbeat is slow right now. We chilling and sitting down, and we are scrolling through our phones or listening to music, bobbing our heads or whatever else, and drinking whatever we bought a bottle for. That's cool. No judgment of that, but like that's how much the game has changed. So when you got someone like Busta Rhymes or Meth and Redman at these places, they're
like, what the fuck is this?
They're like, what's happening? Like they feel like they're being disrespected. They feel like these people are playing in my face. Like I'm not one of those charismatic motherfuckers that ever like be on a stage to rhyme words together. Mm-hmm. Y'all giving me nothing. They see it as disrespect, and they played all these different crowds and arenas, whatever else. They know what worked for what happened back then. So I can see how in their mind and their experience will be like, I'm being played with. So it's just that gigantic disconnect. And like, hopefully the more we have, more of these guys that are the legends continue to want to apply their craft doing this, the more we can kind of we can find a middle ground where we can kind of understand like that's where the game has changed, and try to find, LL Cool J working with Kendrick Lamar or something crazy like that. I think some of this stuff would be cool. Like, not necessarily like put it on people's projects or whatever else, or put it on the old guys' projects. Don't necessarily put it on the young guys' projects. The young guys might not actually want to do that for the reason. Or the labels might be like, we don't want this person because they can't help you or whatever else. But like projects as far as like, other stuff like that, I think, or promotional stuff, I think that'd be cool.
So I'm gonna skip through a couple of these other ones. A lot of people sent stuff in. So this question comes from Discord user Martin Luther Jericho. He said, my question was actually about you, Rich, and it's something I've wanted to know for a bit. One of the most interesting dynamics of listening to One Nation Radio is how James is into comic books and all that nerdy stuff, and you very much aren't. Is there any particular reason why comic books, cartoons, anime, and all that stuff just doesn't resonate with you? This is psychoanalysis of...
It is. And it's funny because I was wearing a Wolverine shirt earlier.
Yeah. So I'll say it's like this. All right.
No, sorry for those. Because when the name came out and they said Martin Luther Jericho, like I basically mouthed like, Martin Luther Jericho? Are you fucking kidding me? I actually no, I wasn't on mute. I just did it for comedic effect. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So like I would probably say for me, like when I was a youth, essentially, I always wanted to be like older than I was. I always wanted to be around the whatever my older sister was doing, I was into. Whatever my older brother Taryn was into, I was into. I was trying to grow up, quote unquote, too fast or whatever. I would probably say like a lot of the stuff I got into, I wanted to do or whatever. Like I wasn't content with living in a fantasy world, like, at least how I saw it. Like when I would see like Power Rangers or Mortal Kombat, I was like, all right, I want to learn how to fight. So like I wanted to do karate in my real life so I could do like this shit for real or whatever. Mm-hmm. Wrestling just happened to be like a live action kind of thing. I didn't see it like it was, any of the,
it's not
the
animation
stuff. Yeah. It just never really hit for me like that. Like, I just wanted to do, I wanted to open up my palm and say, get over here and, have a motherfucker, get a motherfucker over here. That's what I wanted. I wanted to freeze a bitch, but I would probably say like a lot of my interests and stuff, it moved more towards like, all right, there's nothing fake about doing music. Like there's nothing, I don't know. Like it's weird for me. Like it's hard to really say. Like as far as like why I don't like it. And I don't even know if I don't like it. I just missed it. Like because like I dove so deep into. I was very about real things. Like, I used to love to go to the library and read about boxing history when I was a kid. Like literally crack open books. Like, I know this sounds like an insane concept, in 2024, but yeah, just, 11 years old, I'm gonna go to the library and just read about Jack Johnson today. Like, I don't exactly. What's a Star War? Yeah. Like that stuff. Like my dad took me to see, I think it was Star Trek one time. I fell asleep. I was like, nah. Like, and I was like, maybe like 8 years old, 9 years old.
Them Star Trek movies are hit and miss too, so.
So I was like, reading about athletes and all their autobiographies, like that's the stuff I was into. I was into learning about athletes and musicians and stuff like that. Those were my heroes. Those were like, the people and things I found inspiration in. And it just never, like, I looked at cartoons as just cartoons. I didn't look at, and I watched like Nickelodeon. So maybe it was me being a Nickelodeon kid rather than like a Cartoon Network kid, which I would imagine Cartoon Network leads you to like anime. I didn't take that path.
It did as far as like the Toonami block that had like Dragon Ball Z and like Gundam Wing, like back when around the time like you were in like the early 2000s, like around middle school time for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now he didn't ask, but like for me, like I had the same thing as far as like being so huge into sports, but like the 90s animation boom for like comic book heroes like came. So like you had like Batman the animated series, and then you had Spider-Man the animated series, and you had X-Men. And like I was always into cartoons animation, but like I liked the comic book stuff because it was like, oh, this is like these things are these are pictures, like better rendered pictures and stills of like a cartoon. So you like, I still have like my first comic book is Detective Comics from 89. It's part one of a two-part of a two-part. I never found a part two, and I've actually like reading part two a couple years ago. But like it was just like, oh, this is a quick narrative of what would be like a 5-minute cartoon or whatever else. And you're just reading through it and flipping through it and you see the stuff. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And then like to finally get that animated, to see actually Batman animated series, like that was fucking awesome. And it was like you learn things about like life through certain this stuff, like from like what the allegories are. Like X-Men is about diversity. Literally about X-Men is like there is a group of people that are the next step of evolution in society. They have the X genome or X genetic marker, and they have these super powers or whatever else based off of their genetics. And people in society do not want to be replaced and are...
We will not replace
this
us?
Is the early 90s. And this comics book is going on. This comic book series is been animated into a television show. And like, it is like the play of like, these superheroes are saving the world and saving humanity against the same humanity that fucking hates them. And actually will be willing, and then they rebooted the series or whatever else to the night with this, and they're like, and a part of it is like, they would rather die. They would rather not exist and have mutants, surpass. And it's like, gee, don't that sound familiar? Based on the politics of the world. And that was always the politics of, like, a lot of comic books, like, teach you something that you may have not actually just inherently known about the world, the world that you live in. And, like, that's one thing that's so funny about me funny to me when, like, the media literacy stuff, when like you have these Republican politicians like say that their favorite like bands are like Rage Against the Machine, is like
they don't be knowing like
what do you think? Who do you think they were talking about as being the people need to be toppled? You fucking never mind. But my point is like you like, for example, like Star Wars, another fiction series, like that was about like imperialism.
Mm-hmm.
That was about occupancy in Vietnam War, right? Like, it's also a part about like, hey, stormtroopers, they're space Nazis. Like, so it's another part of media literacy where like, Republican National Conventions in like 2008, like they thought that they were the rebels and not the Empire. It's like, nah, y'all are the Empire. What do y'all think? What? Like. So that's why it's always interesting, like, or one of the things that drew me to comic books was like the sociology involved of the worldview, because like it's like, hey, we're building this world where like a lot of these places is basically like, hey, it's very similar to our world in the Marvel universe, basically like the same exact world, except there's aliens that we know the aliens, there's super technology, and there's certain people that have like amazing powers and abilities, and like how would the world react? How would New York City react if there was a motherfucker that got bitten by a radioactive spider and he's out here because he's not super power, he's stronger than the average man and all that kind of stuff, but not like he can control the world with his power. He decides like to use his powers at first to become a pro wrestler and then shoot on somebody, still make money off shooting on somebody, and then because of that, getting stiffed on his payoff, like the person that stiffed on his payoff ended up like killing his uncle that was his surrogate father. And that's the story. That's the origin story of Spider-Man, right? Like, it's all this kind of stuff. Like, if you're in the real world, you apply these few little things. Like, how would the world change a little bit? How would it react to it? And like, what can, from the stories you are taking in, like, what can that mean about like if you're just relating that to real life in a way? And it's like, yeah, X-Men spoke to me in that way. Like, I remember there was I think it was X-Men 2, the second movie, and it was one character that like can shapeshift and be anything, named Mystique, and there was another character that was also like just blue skin, and his ability was the ability to like transport to different areas, teleport different areas, right? And he walked up to her and said, "If you could be anybody, and we both got this blue skin, like why wouldn't you choose to be?" To look like a normal person. And he's like, and her response was like, why should the world make me like change who I am? Like, and it was kind of like, for me, it was just like, you get stuff like that, just like to think on as far as like how we treat people in the world based off of like what their differences are. And like, for me, that's what draws me to comic books. Like the human part of the super ability stuff, that part is what draws me to superheroes. Like the part of like, oh my God, Superman can pull the sun out of orbit or whatever else he wanted to. I mean, that's a cool visual, but like the parts of the stories is like the human element.
I would say I'm very into Rocky. If we talk about something that's like, but again, it's people or whatever. Maybe like the animation part is the whole.
Rambo and Slam Pig can point out the Superman thing. Like Superman is the American story. It literally is American story. Like he's an illegal alien. Like he's an immigrant. Like his planet is dying. His parents put his ass in a spaceship and just shoot him out into space, and he lands in Kansas.
That's funny.
And then he doesn't realize he has superpowers until he's a teenager. Or most, depending on the origin stories, the origins changed over a bunch of time. But like the general story is like he doesn't realize he has powers to a certain age. But like he fights for truth, justice, in the American way because he's an American. He may not be from here, but he may not be from here, but he's an American.
Yeah, like I love like Rocky and like all of them to this day. Like with Creed, like that's like the stuff that like appeals to me. Like, so Sir Sam says Blood and Guts feels very flat this year. Why do you think that is? So there's an old phrase I think that'll kind of make sense. So like I think it is a match. Or excuse me, it is a match that is being had because of a stipulation, not a stipulation that's being had because of a match. And I think it's like kind of transparently this year revealed itself to be that more than any other year. It's like, yeah, we knew Blood and Guts was coming. How are we getting there? And I think they're still working on it. Even I think the Swerve Okada match tomorrow is probably going to play into that. There's still, the Darby Allin attack coming, and it's just taking so long that it feels like I think less than it was, and I don't think it's even like drawing all that well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with what you're saying as far as like, yeah, it's just that time of the year, so we got to do it. And like, I mean, they set up in a long time like the stuff that like the Elite versus AEW thing. I just think that like it fell flat because it's the Elite versus AEW, like
it's weird.
All Elite Wrestling versus the Elite. Don't that sound dumb?
Yeah, like, it's weird, man.
Like I think okay, so this is the thing with like actors that are very successful. That like we kind of just let them slide on things. They let them slide based off of like just their standing. Like Denzel Washington can get any movie role he wants to, and Denzel Washington ain't got to change his accent at all. He's just gonna talk how he talks because he's Denzel Washington. We live with that, right? Like George Clooney is George Clooney in every single movie he's been in for the last 20 years because we like George Clooney. He ain't got to flip up nothing. He ain't got to be vulnerable. He ain't got to show certain things. He just got to be himself. He just show up on the set in the suit, holding them up, and basically be Danny Ocean from Ocean's 11, and it's fine, right? Like. Up in the Air is one of my favorite movies of all time. He's basically just Danny Ocean all over again, except he's getting on planes to fire people, right? So,
it's hard to do this. I was going to say, it's hard to do this without Kenny Omega.
That's true. I said all that, what I was saying about the actors thing is like, it's hard for us to actually boo the Elite because we love the Elite and we just realize they're doing a really good job. Like, we don't actually think they're the either overseers and overdoers. Like, it was easier to boo the McMahons when the McMahons doing because we know how Vince and the McMahons get in the whole, Lower Nights, all them get down. We know they're actually shitty people. So it's actually easy to boo them. When it's the Elite, it's like, we know this all will work. I can't really sink my teeth in this and buy it. And also, it's like, they're not also like, seem to be like preserving their bodies while doing this too.
Yeah. And like, they're going to have the cool dynamics. Like when Swerves is standing next to Darby, that's going to ring off, right? That's going to be a great visual. These lifelong career rivals, standing side by side. That's going to be dope. When Okada's in there in a match where he potentially runs the razor, it's going to be interesting. It's just like, when we see it in action, I think it's gonna work, right? But getting there is going to, like, we're taking bumps and bruises along the way, and a lot of that has to do with, like I said, like it's hard to do this entire angle without Kenny Omega there. And flat out, I don't know who needs to hear this or whatever, but like this is one of like the most central, like people, to talk about whoever you want in the company, right? But that guy's fucking different. And the room changes when he comes in. When he came back and he cut that promo and they laid him out, that's the last time this thing felt like it was like, there's something here or whatever.
Because it's also like, now we have Christopher Daniels and he's doing Khan's bidding. And it's like, for example, right? I thought of this, and then I got a screenshot of John from Omakase saying this, and it was like, so this past weekend, they ran a video pack of VTR vignette, or whatever, a video package of like Mass Caster diss rapping the Young Bucks, and it's like, oh, so they weren't at the controls this week. Even though we seem to be at the controls, or if they weren't at controls, or even Okada's at controls, saying, I pressed the wrong button, bitch. Like, so how did this get through? How did this not get stopped in the middle of the thing, or like get like 8 bars in and get shut down? Like, it's one of those. It's like, all right, man, this is just like any other old goofy old wrestling storyline as opposed to being well taken care of. And it's like, for 8, that's not a normal, that's an unusual oversight for the Elite.
And like, they've not committed to Jack Perry in the way. I know he pinned Danielson in the last pay-per-view, right? But what's happening to Danielson now? Line go up, you know. Jack Perry, like, they haven't like taken the steps to be like, yo, there's a true elevation going on here. It's like we're trying to push him forward. Like, that hasn't happened. It's like he's amongst the group when he came back with so many possibilities. And it's been, they wasted his return like on an impromptu match with Dustin Rhodes that wasn't advertised. It was like, that's a mistake. So like a lot of these like small, like it was 1,000 paper cuts. A lot of these paper cuts, like if you just blend them all together, that's like a motherfucker with his arm sawed off, essentially.
I feel like a lot of it was them waiting around on like waiting around on Omega's health, and then like it just don't appear to be ready. And like, it's cool they wanted to do that, but this is the expense if you wait on something and it goes left on you.
So Rambo and Slant Pig says, who do you think Swerve should eventually drop the title to? Danielson at All In, Hangman later, someone else?
I think those would be the number 2 option, or top 2 options in my opinion right now.
If it was me, I think I would want to drop the belt on the biggest stage possible. If it was me, like I'd be like, all right, if I'm going to Wembley, I'll lead a belt there and go out in style, like rather than drop that shit on a Dynamite somewhere or drop that shit elsewhere. Like,
you mean another pay-per-view? You mean?
Yeah, like, I mean, another pay-per-view is fine, but like, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to do it in the biggest stage possible. Personally, that's just how I look at it.
I don't know, man. Most people would rather win on the biggest stage possible, Rich. That's kind of how sports work. It's kind of how wrestling works too.
No, but I'm saying, like, if you had a show, all right, James, you the champion. Where are you dropping the belt at?
It is my choice.
Yeah,
not at the biggest show of the year.
So you on that Triple H? You gonna wait till the next month?
Well, in Triple H situation, it would just be rematch after rematch after rematch. In AEW, it's not rematch after rematch after rematch. So, it's a little different. But, yeah, like, me personally,
a house show.
No.
Drop that shit on ROH. Like, that's an AEW title match on ROH.
Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. No, what I mean by that is like, all right, so we had to do, how long was MJF champion for? What, 14 months, 15 months?
Yeah.
Right?
Too long.
Right. He was for over a year, and then we put it on Joe at the very end of December, and then like we did the nonsense with the turn or whatever else for Hangman, and like the rep and striking the refs in their match so they can extend that to April. Because they didn't want to change the title basically at the same time that they were going to change the title, or they were going to have Sting main event to leave. So then they put it on Swerve then, and it's like, all right, so now get it to late August, and then switch the titles. Like, that's not a transitional title reign because he did beat Ospreay, but like if the whole idea is restore the feeling, is like, let's get this shit to 6 more months. Or let's get, not 6 more months, let's get this shit to like about the 6 months part, and that's right, a nice sweet spot to drop this thing after just coming off as transitional champion. Right? Mm-hmm. In my opinion. They ain't gotta do what I want, what I just suggested. I'm just saying as a nice, like, to kind of get further removed from the nonsense that was the end of the MJF run. It's like, we had a solid transitional champion, also have a solid title reign, and then we'll figure out where we go from there. Like, I'm more concerned on like on the title reign, like the who the champion like beat than necessarily the length of it. And it's like, he got Ospreay, but it's like, can he get one more?
Mm-hmm.
You know, can he get one more? Can he get two more? And then we'll go from there. Because like, I that's the thing I've always found interesting and I've liked about AEW so much, is like, champions face real threats. For the most part, they face real threats, and someone's gonna go up and go down, and then after you go up or go down, or after you go down, you're gonna have to like you have to find your way back narratively in a compelling way to get the crowd to get back into you. And that's, I think, the reason why people, you know, were so big on the Hangman thing, because like Hangman got it, you know, got it, was great with it, and then like they moved him aside for Punk, and then like he found another thing. They get hot again, and he, you know, they could make, that was good, more than good enough, the main event, right? This show is coming up in Wembley, and like people were like, "Well, just do it now." It's like, nah, man, he's super talented. He has a super character that he can lead, that he has to run with for the next few months, and I think they'll see each other again. I honestly think that, like, because I trust in this Booker. He's right now the only Booker I actually do trust in pro wrestling.
King of the North said, "I'm dropping my belt 6 from the top. You sicko."
Nah, that's nasty.
That's crazy.
Hey, yo, King of the North. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Woo.
I ain't touching that one at all.
So they you know, if he could remain upright and I was guaranteed a clean bill of health, I'd have him drop it to Darby. Career story. Swerve, like Darby Allin owns Swerve Strickland. Death taxes and Darby owns Swerve. That's what I do. But
I mean, you know, how do you get there if it seems like he's set to be wrestling Jack Perry?
I don't know. I was just talking about me. Like I wasn't trying to actually book it, but
okay.
So I'm gonna skip over that other one, Rambones. Try to get to a couple more of these folks. Martin Luther Jericho again. He's got another one. I think that would be a good one. Or he's actually got two good ones. Do you think fans being overly critical is killing their enjoyment of AEW from being unable to discuss a good episode of Dynamite without zeroing in on something they didn't like, to complain about the venues the companies go to without acknowledging the factors that go into venue selection along with the wider state of entertainment, which may lead to AEW getting a good deal in these venues? Certain people just seem to try their hardest to not like shit.
I mean, I think that's a lot of the whole entire AEW experience, is like the online discourse, which already skews especially negative because people don't want this thing to even exist.
That you got to start there. Yep. And then, but I think people should be critical of the things they enjoy, like, because, you know, it's not like, hey, don't cheerlead for people. Make them look, if you like them earnestly, that's great, but that doesn't mean that you have to then like suffer or swallow any nonsense that they put on your plate. Yeah, because then it just becomes like you just have to carry the water or whatever, and then eventually your arms are gonna get tired,
right?
And then eventually, like, we're gonna be playing like, you know, a piece of audio that you do if you're a podcast host. We're gonna be playing it years later, laughing at it, how insane you went defending the company. Yeah. Like, these are things that exist or whatever.
Yeah. Like, once that thing becomes your identity and you can't actually like be self-aware enough to realize like you're too close to it, then like next thing you know, you are here on Twitter being crashing out, being upset that a serial sex trafficker is being brought to justice. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that kind of history. You don't. Yeah. You don't want to lose yourself in that.
Yeah, so like, you know,
I ain't gonna forget that this whole Vince run. Not gonna forget.
Never forget
that nonsense. No,
that bullshit then, and that continue to uphold it now. And then, you know, more Janelle Grant stuff is dropped. Like, she's requesting the medical records and stuff like that. we see Triple H every time he gets one of these questions, he starts scrambling and skedaddling. Look, like I don't think that's killing their enjoyment. I think, like what James said, everything that's combined. Joe Lanza and David Bixenspan did a great 3-hour episode on wrestling media.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. But basically, like, what has happened with AEW is like the propaganda worked, like from 2021 and everything that has to do with the echo chamber of YouTube videos with the British YouTubers, the negative engagement accounts, WWE poisoning the well with the Fast National stuff, sending out their legends to do podcasts and stuff like that to fight these battles and dictate the discourse. Like, it's worked or whatever. Like, it took these people that,
and it was always going to work if anybody ever bothered to do it, because like we see this being done at the political level.
Yeah, and just the numbers. It's like they're weaponizing this larger set of, audience or whatever through these obviously mostly ridiculous talking points from, it's not everything's like completely off the mark, but like when, Kevin Nash is getting sent out there to get to do his podcast, and everything's getting aggregated by all the, people that are thanking Vince McMahon that are running the websites or deciding the aggregation to this, who just have a personal emotional attachment to WWE and are upset that this thing exists. Like, the job is done. Like, we're not playing, like, it's not a level like field or whatever. Like, there's no other side, quote unquote, of media or whatever that is going to be like, unless it's something like independent voices like Social Suplex Podcast Network, Voice of Wrestling, different stuff like that are not like these affiliated platforms, so to say, like, to where aggregation is coming from them constantly. And how it goes is it comes out of those levels, whether the information is real or not or anything like that. Like the Fast Nationals thing, people take it to different ecosystems. People bring it to TikTok, people bring it to Instagram, people bring it to Facebook, which is a hellhole. Yeah, people bring it to Reddit, which is a fucking, we already know how it goes. They don't want it to exist. So like, unfortunately, like, I don't think AEW has bothered to fight back, and it's almost like you see, it's like, why don't you defend yourself more? But it's almost like, how would it look if you defend yourself? I think that's what they think. I'm like, no, man, come out there. Like, bro, there's so, like, that's why when, Toni will tweet something like,
how dare you?
The allegations about Vince McMahon and stuff, people would like go batshit insane, because it's like they don't want AEW to fight back. They don't want them to challenge the all great WWE thing that has been 60 years in this country. They don't want that challenge.
There's that, plus there's also, as you mentioned, like with all of the propaganda that's out there and the dirty pool that's being played, it's like, it's back to the political thing, right? Like, Nancy Pelosi's husband gets beaten with a hammer.
Right.
And one side says, oh, this wasn't actually like, this person wasn't actually a victim of political circumstance. This person was having a gay affair. Roles reversed. Someone almost gets taken out by a hail of gunfire. The other side can't come out here and start saying it's a hoax or whatever. It's got to be, hey, this is fucked up. May God, bless him, and lucky by grace of God, he's still alive, and it's unacceptable, because it is like if one side's allowed to sling mud, the other side can't, and the other side is trying to stay clean. They have to continue staying clean, otherwise eventually they get into the mud, and then when they get into the mud, finally they'll be saying, "Oh, you're a hypocrite all along. We don't listen to you." It's always that play. So that was the standards for all of this. Vince has always been muddy. WWE has always been muddy. They've always been competitive, and this goes with it. It was always a war started from one side, aggression towards the other. The other side, whenever they stand up for themselves just even a little bit, it's how dare they? They're supposed to just take it on the chin.
Yep. They're supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to be, whatever. Like there's a lot of, when like you mentioned the a lot of parallels.
And then once you throw them out there, it was like, I don't look. The cons are NFL owners. I would not be shocked to find out about their political leanings one way or the other. Right? I'm just saying, like, that is the standing. Like, one side is allowed to sling mud, the other side chooses not to, and when they throw a speck of dirt, it's the biggest deal in the world. Meanwhile, the dump truck's still getting dumped on them every week. And that's been the case for 5 years now.
Yep.
But I think
eventually, like it was
people to realize that's actually what the game is, and if they don't, then like they just aren't they are unaware that they're getting caught. They're getting worked in this way.
Yeah.
Bro, when that contract comes out for their new rights deal, people gonna be fucking flabbergasted. I thought this thing was filmed the whole time. Whoa, I've been listening to dumbasses. Does that mean I'm a dumbass? Not necessarily.
Well, yes,
it means you got fooled.
Like
Stop getting worked.
Like these people, like they have bought into this thing wholeheartedly, right? When that contract drops, I don't go unhinged on Twitter much anymore. But that day that drops,
Cheeseboard guy gonna be sick. His mission is gonna be disgusting. He might want to call in that day.
I might have.
He might want to call out that day.
I might have to pre-write a list in advance or whatever of motherfuckers I plan on. Like Tupac said, personally hitting them up. I'm like, hey, what do you have on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna act up.
Boy, Eric Bischoff, he may as well deactivate his account.
Yeah. Lead app. Now.
They did because it was like, so they did everything wrong, yet they made more money than you ever did, and they gonna run longer than you.
Hurt.
Oof, rough.
Hurt.
All this because you thought they was gonna give you a job and they didn't.
Crazy. Wow. Someone pointed out that the Discord pointed out the 286 and Final Nitro and the 286 Dynamite are going to be on the same day of March 26th, 2025. Wow. Disco Inferno, yeah, he'll be coming to the stage as well. A lot of people going to be coming to the stage. I don't even want to single them out.
But here's the thing, most of them don't realize they're all full of shit. So they'll accept it and be like, "This is more engaged for me." And I'll get to yell out my lies on my podcast, whatever platform I have.
Look,
and I'll continue
motherfuckers, they can have whatever platform they want to have, right? But it's not on you to believe them or follow that bullshit.
People. It's easy to listen to a podcast and watch another 5 hours of pro wrestling. Yeah,
Let's see. Let's get one more. I'm not in this with a Jake Lee question. I'm sorry, Dr. Lariat.
Shit, we're not.
Let's see.
Shout out to Chris Sampson on Keepin It Strong Style. Another year, another G1 preview. Another great show by the guys. Yeah, man.
Check that out. Absolutely.
Check that out while we in the middle of mentioning stuff.
Yep. One last question will go for Martin Luther Jericho. He says, Rich, how did the second volume of Who We Are come together?
I'm sorry, Rich. This Martin Luther Jericho has now turned into like when Jericho was showing up a few weeks ago at a new segment. It's like I keep hearing Martin Luther, it keeps popping me more and more and more, and I keep being like, why is this happening still? All right, go ahead, man. Go ahead with the question. Sorry.
So how did the second volume of Who We Are come together? What's the process for finding the right sound for the wrestlers who have their stories told on the album? So I guess this is a good time to mention that I'll be going in depth on this. I'm on AEW Unrestricted this week. I recorded interview with Mikey Ruckus was on it as well. Will Washington, Aubrey Edwards. That's going to drop Thursday. I believe my segment's probably like 20, 25 minutes, something like that. But without stepping too much on what that's going to be, pretty much like it came from my work on Volume 1, which like I guess impressed a lot of people in the right places with what I was able to deliver, the ease that it was to work with me. And I just started like putting the stuff I was doing on display. Like I was just like, treating it like, some of my regular other music. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a behind the beat video. I'm going to show how I did it. And then Phil Lindsay, shout out to Phil from Grapsity, he actually wrote an article on Bleacher Report pretty much talking about the project, and then he embedded some of my videos in there. So I don't know who saw that or whatever, but, it's a huge platform. So from there, like that kind of, I think, put me into the orbit, so to say. I was already cool with Mikey Ruckus and, work with him a bunch and did, the stuff on the album. Like Montesi brought me in to basically like submit, some production. And I ended up sending a verse on Nyla Rose's song. And then this time, Mike was like, yo, I want you to do pretty much the whole thing next time. And I was like, wow. So we went to the table and, basically, he, got me right. And, he gave me the list essentially of people. And I started, I made a few fresh beats and I went, to the vault for some. And, I just try to pick, when I think about, whatever the wrestler is, I try to think about, does this music match them? If I was going to bring them into my world and be like, yo, how do I interpret them through hip hop? Essentially, like Athena's one. When I think of Athena, I don't necessarily think of rap, right? But if I did, right, I was like, all right, what am I going to give her? So pretty interesting, take on that. So, and I did beats for, I want to say at least like 10 or 11 songs on the project. So I'm like the quote unquote lead producer of it. And all the song previews have been coming out on Twitter this past week, and people have been going up for them. Like a lot of positivity, very little negativity. Because, with these kind of things, obviously, the negativity will come. Like I'm obviously aware, and I expect that to a certain extent. But I helped mix a lot of the songs on the project too. I helped facilitate conversations with people. Like I was able to, I got my homeboy Daryl, who I pretty much started in the rap game with when I was a teenager. I got him on the album, so that was pretty cool. I was able to do that. I got Gats on the album. Got my sister on the project. She's rapping. So it's kind of wild. I was able to, someone brought me in. So just keep passing it on. So I think it was pretty cool of Mikey to entrust me with a lot of this stuff, because I don't know, like if you're Mikey Ruckus, right? Obviously he's not black, right? And this whole thing is like, about black wrestlers and wanting it to come from a certain perspective and, certain people. I imagine, I fall off the back of a truck in front of Mikey Ruckus is like, this is a gift. And so, I fought with Mikey Ruckus a long way. So, it's, it was pretty fun. And, I'm hopeful, there's a part 3. There's obviously more wrestlers on part 3, that would need, music made for them, a Mercedes, a Brian Keith, something like that, like on, volume 3.
Oh, that volume 3, Brian Keith, Rich Lotta, that's going to be nasty.
So yeah, like, the whole thing, it's been coming together since, like, I think they originally were talking about dropping it last September. So it's gone through a couple of different iterations. There's songs that unfortunately are not going to make the project that can't talk about yet. Like, you guys will see kind of what's there, and then you'll be like, oh, what's going on? But there was one song that I lost on there that I really liked. and I got to kind of work with somebody I had never worked with on it before, so that was pretty cool. But I'm sure we'll get to it again. But the first song they released from it was the Willow Nightingale song, which is the song I was on. I didn't know they were going to do that. So like basically like I picked the wrestlers and I assigned the beats. Mikey Ruckus randomly picked all the talent and like, all the rappers or who's going to go where. And he paired me with Josiah Williams, obviously from, NXT days. And then Victor Perry, who runs the wrestling club, who's a great singer. And it was like, yo, y'all got Willow Nightingale song. I was like, wow, I wanted to do the Willow Nightingale song anyway. So like it was, it wasn't like I just picked my own thing. But yeah, I set myself off, and it was really easy working with those guys. I think that song is quite dope. I heard Willow likes it very much. I have not spoken with her yet, but hope to one day.
So two things real quick. One, King of the North said James on part 3. No.
Let's go.
No. Absolutely.
Let's go. Look. If not on part 3, I figure we maybe we can get something. We can do something on part 3.
It will not be James Boyd on the beat. It will not be none of that. So like you mentioned you mentioned the Mikey Ruckus part, and like, so what I'm waiting for in particular is like, when we gonna get like, because of like the Lucha Bros, Sammy Guevara, like we have a bunch of Hispanic athletes and wrestlers in AEW. Like, when are we gonna get like something similar to that? Like, that has like different types of, like Hispanic music on there. Like, is there a possibility? Do you think there's a possibility there will be like something like that? Like, you'll have some merengue track, something like that, or something like reggaeton, so like, what I'm saying, like, because I'm sure there's connects for that too.
Yeah. I think that would be possible. All depends if AEW wants to open up the budget on that. And there are hoops that need to be jumped through to make these albums come to life. So shouts out to everyone that was clearing everything, like, all right, it's passing this stage, all right, we're good to go. So I hope you guys enjoy the album, one, and maybe maybe that night when it comes out at midnight, they're kind of pushing it as a midnight release after Dynamite. I don't know if I will do a live stream there, but maybe like I don't know, over the weekend or something like that. I'll live stream the album on Twitch and, play the tracks and, kind of talk more about it or whatever. But, yeah, I would love to see, some Latino music. I love Spanish music, so I don't know if I'd be able to help with that, but, I'm sure I can figure something out. But besides that, I think we can wrap him up.
All right, hold on, just send us something.
But yeah, check out AEW Unrestricted this week. Your boy is on there.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. That's the end of the show. Be sure to rate us whatever app you're using to listen to this with. Also, Rich, can you plug the merch or
yes,
or
get your merch. Get your merch. OneLifetimeWorldwide.com. We do have like another merch thing we will probably be starting to communicate as a network rather soon. That is not ready yet. But if you want, exclusives like One Nation Radio stuff, like, these hats, I got purple, I got black, I got orange, obviously right here. We got shirts, we got all that shit like on the site, OneLifetimeWorldwide.com. Check it out.
Yeah. And as far as the donations, go to the podcast show notes in the description. You'll see a link to our circle. You can go donate there. And be sure to listen to other shows on the network besides One Nation Radio. You have Keepin It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Imps WWE Adventure, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Tunnel Talk, and the Trish and Wrestling Pod. I'm sorry, the Trish and Wrestling. The Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. It's not even a podcast. One more time. The Trish and Sarah Wrestling Show. Anyway, it is a wrestling podcast. I'm looking at the notes and I'm reading it wrong. Trish and Sarah are gonna be like, what the fuck? But the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Also, ton of talk. Can't wait to see y'all off hiatus. Can't wait to hear y'all thoughts on how this grave injustice was done. I feel like I'm always, throwing mean shots at them at whatever in the show. But like, I just want to hear like what this felt like. Cause like, I wanted to listen to them this week because I wanted to see what they had to say about Toni and Mariah. Now I gotta wait a week. Damn it. Damn you, Tony Khan. Look what you've done. All right, later, y'all.
Bronny James stinks. And I'll get to it. Look, when the season starts, look, James, you can attest to this. Bronny James' entire high school career, I said nothing about this. I decided I'm going to wait until that man put a league uniform on. Even college, I was just like, yeah, the stats, these are not good stats objectively, right? But now that this poison has been put on my beloved team, the Los Angeles this is an affront to the game. This is awful. And we'll get to it more. I'm not ready to completely unleash yet, but it looks bad.
It does look bad. Since we talking about basketball, I just wanted to go back to what my original background was. And just before we get off the podcast, I just want to point out, hey man, Caitlin Clark, that picture that she took backstage is now my background. Y'all got to go to the stream or go to the whatever clip has it. When she made this face, when she is cross-eyed, and that tongue singing out, when she walking down in the back of the arena to get to the locker room
with the gun,
it's fucking crazy, She's balling out, but that was fucking crazy. And like, this is my new go-to picture for Caitlin Clark now. You want to be goofy, you want to be a clown. Remember, this is now on your permanent record. So,
also AW Match Guide is back this Wednesday. I believe Trish will be on with Sir Sam, and next week I'll be recording a show with Sir Sam as well. So look forward to that.
All right, y'all. Later.
Peace.
Big Dragon.